go. But queen h5, wow. I mean, this is already, the pressure is mounting on black's king. Maybe Svidler thought he has no other option here, but this is an extraordinary decision by Svidler, casting into it. And queen h5 has come very rapidly from Nepomniachtchi. I say rapidly, I should mention the time control here. The players get 45 minutes at the start of the game, and each time they make a move, 30 seconds is added to their clock. So they have to play quite quickly. So this is a kind of mixture between a rapid time control and a classical time control. Well, we'll let that game brew nicely, and I think we should switch over to look at Switzerland's #1 player, Yannick Pelletier, with the black pieces, playing against Hikaru Nakamura, one of the strongest players in the world. I believe he's rated number 8 on the live list, somewhere around there. So let's go from the top. So Nakamura with the white pieces. Nakamura playing quite pragmatically, playing a reti, so no sharp opening theory. And Pelletier has played one of the most reliable systems against the reti, which is this kind of reverse Torre system. So black has established a strong pawn center, excuse me while I try and remove that arrow, and brings the bishop out. So it's a kind of Slav system with black, and the bishop is outside the pawn chain. All very regular. And queen e1. So that steps out of any potential pin, and the pawn can advance to e4. So the pawn comes to e5. e4. Pawns traded, so black trades before white. This is important. Before white can trade on d5. Okay, I think I'm going to switch to German for a little bit, because I can see in our audience here today we have several. I should say, explain for those watching online. We have guests here in the audience. Also auf Deutsch. Besonders wenn wir über die Partie von Yannick Pelletier sprechen. Also Hikaru Nakamura spielt mit Weiß gegen Yannick Pelletier, und Pelletier hat eine sehr ordentliche Eröffnung gespielt. Spielt mit dieser Bauernkette hier, diese ganz strenge Bauernstruktur. Also das gefällt mir sehr gut, diese Eröffnung für Schwarz. Aber hier muss er ein bisschen aufpassen, weil es droht, hier auf D5 zu nehmen. Und das öffnet die E-Linie, und man kann sehen sofort diese Vis-à-vis der Dame und des Königs hier auf E8 könnte gefährlich sein. Also deshalb hat er auf E4 abgetauscht, und das bedeutet, die E-Linie ist jetzt geschlossen. Und dann Läufe E7. Also bisher alles normal, könnte man sagen. Das hat man schon einige Mal gesehen. Ich springe H4, und das ist ein ganz typisches Manöver für diese Stellung. Der Springer möchte hier auf diesem schönen Feld F5 reinspringen. Und ja, Garry Kasparov meinte, der Springer auf F5, das ist mein Lieblingsfeld für den Springer, wenn der König auf G8 steht. Weil dann hat dieser Springer so viele Möglichkeiten in der Nähe des Königs. Sieht sehr schön aus in some World Cup tournaments. This looks like heavy preparation to me. So white recovers the pawn, and this bishop on c4 looks rather attractive in combination with the knight bearing down on f7, and black is having to shuffle behind the first ranks for the moment. So bishop b5, of course, black would very much like to trade off this lovely bishop. But, well, let me get to the position we've reached on the board. Queen f5. At some moment, black would very much like to trade off this bishop, but at the moment, positionally, if this is traded off, then for one thing, that pawn performs a very useful role of guarding the d5 square. So black's pieces are unable to use that d5 square. So, for example, rook d5 isn't possible. Also, after this trade, then the b file opens, and there's a very simple plan to bring the rook over to pressure the pawn on b7. You can see black's pieces here are in a kind of traffic jam. Doesn't look very attractive, and I think in combination with the bishop on, whoops, I've misfired again, that bishop on f4, looking down this diagonal, controlling these key squares, then it seems to me that white has a very, very pleasant positional advantage. But that's not the position on the board. I think Aparin is correct in just delaying that. He'll try and exchange it at the right moment. Instead, he's played queen c6. So connecting his rooks, trying to activate his queen. And I think he'll look to trade off queens at some opportune moment with queen e4 to try and just relieve some of this pressure on his position. And, well, I can see we've switched, our director switched boards, because we can see Yannick Pelletier with the black pieces, Switzerland's #1 player, against Hikaru Nakamura, and this one has really livened up. So we left the position around about here. Bishop on c3, knight fd7. And now f4, so Nakamura is trying to blast open the diagonal for his bishop on c3, and already there's a threat to play g4 when the bishop retreats. Then f5 would win that bishop on h5, so that bishop would be trapped. So therefore, Yannick has played f6, giving the bishop a little retreat. But this feels very active for white. So the f-file is opened, and there's no rook on f8 to match the rook on f1. Now Yannick, just contemplating whether he's going to recapture with knight or pawn. Okay, well, let me be a chicken and let me trade a few pieces. So let's have a look. If we trade here, generally one would like to trade some pieces to relieve the pressure with a good knight against the bad bishop. That's not going to happen. No, let's go back. g5, that's the position on the board. I wonder whether he might consider keeping some options open and controlling the dark squares. So instead of taking a pawn, maybe he'll just win some dark squares, or maybe this is too fanciful. Followed by queen h6. I could be wrecking a very good position here for white. I don't think this is the way to go, but it's kind of fun. Queen here, bishop g5. So what's the score? White has a pawn for the exchange and threatens quite a good move. That probably wasn't forced. We should go back. Ah, we got some moves. It's gone after g5. Bishop takes g5. Well, there must be a stronger move in this position, I would say. But instead, it's gone bishop g5, f4. Wow. F4 hat er gespielt. So threatens the rook. This looks desperate to me, absolutely desperate. But we still need to crack this one. So presumably his idea is, okay, let's be very materialistic and play something like this. Then queen e5, and that's a very annoying pin. Well, it's not exactly a pin, but you know what I mean. After this, then black is on the board, sort of. This is probably also very good for white, actually, even this endgame, because this pin is so annoying. Es scheint sehr natürlich zu sein und ich sehe eigentlich keine Möglichkeit für Weiß, so Fortschritt zu machen. Okay, let's switch games. Let's go back to Nepomniachtchi against Svidler. And we left it around here, and suddenly Svidler is back in the game. Remarkably, he looked completely and utterly lost after the opening. And I suspect there was a win there. But now Svidler finds himself in an endgame where he's still a pawn down, but his pieces are very strong. The bishop is very strong, and he has nice central control. And I think the problem is that this knight doesn't find it easy to find a really good square. If only that knight could sit on f5 or something, but no. And we got another move. It's gone. Just a quick recap: Queen d3, Bishop c5. Queen's got to go back to e2. This is very unpleasant. That queen has to mind the pawn on f2, and it means now the knight can't result.
Hikaru 1, yeah?
Hikaru 1, yeah, looks like it.
Two minor weaknesses.
Yeah, okay, a classic two bishops position. Whoops,
yeah.
Let's take this off the board. Okay, well listen, let's turn our attention to your game.